If you're listening to this, chances are you've already had, a measure of success. Maybe you hit huge professional goals, or maybe you're just really good at managing your tasks. But I want you to reflect on a deeper, maybe more painful set of struggles that the sources we have today really bring up.
These are the struggles that feel like chronic contradictions, the things that keep us up at night.
Exactly. Think about the executive who successfully climbs the corporate ladder, but then realizes they've sacrificed their family life entirely. Or you, perhaps, starting a new diet or exercise routine for the 10th time.
Right.
You have the positive mental attitude, you have all the new gear, but a few weeks in, that energy just fizzles out. It's almost like success in one area sort of creates failure in another.
Or maybe you're the manager who genuinely believes they're friendly and supportive. But the second you leave the office, you feel that lack of loyalty, that sense that your employees just see it as punching a clock.
Yeah.
The source material argues that these persistent frustrating gaps are not simply behavioral flaws.
They aren't about needing a better calendar or a sharper resume.
No, they are symptoms of what the author calls an inner hunger, a deep need for personal congruency. We are often overwhelmingly busy, achieving, planning, yet we lack peace.
So the issue isn't the world around us.
The fundamental issue isn't the world, it's the lens through which we perceive that world and our place in it.
And that's our mission today. We are diving into that fundamental philosophical shift, moving away from superficial techniques and quick fixes toward enduring principles of character.
The things that govern all lasting success.
Exactly. We need to look inward at the map we use before we start trying to fix the territory.
And to understand this change, we have to recognize a really significant historical divergence that the author identified after studying, I think it was nearly 2 centuries of success literature.
And what the author found was, honestly, it's fascinating. For the first 150 years, the literature was all united. Success was built squarely on the character ethic.
The character.
This was the philosophy of goodness, focusing on deep foundational traits like integrity, humility, fidelity, temperance.
Courage, justice, patience, the golden rule. I mean, think of Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. He wasn't just writing down things he wanted to do.
No.
He was focused on integrating these virtues into his very nature, tracking them rigorously, because he understood that character was the bedrock of his effectiveness.
But then, in the final 50 years of that study, something fundamentally changed. It almost sounds like a marketing shift.
It does.
The focus swung hard toward the personality ethic.
It did. The literature started prioritizing, superficial social image consciousness, skills, techniques, positive attitude, the idea that you could simply act successful and success would follow.
And the sources warn they call these social band-aids an aspirin.
Right. They might relieve the acute pain of a moment, but they completely ignore the chronic, deep-seated issues that just keep resurfacing.
Okay, but I have to push back on that a little.
Right.
In the modern world, especially with social media and this emphasis on personal branding, isn't the personality ethic kind of necessary?
Yeah.
If I'm going into a job interview or trying to sell a product, I have to focus on my image, my communication techniques, my attitude, right? Is the source suggesting we just ignore those things?
Not at all. And that's a great question. The source material draws a distinction between what it calls primary greatness and secondary greatness.
Okay.
Secondary greatness is the social recognition, the skills, the talents, the techniques you mentioned, like charisma or networking ability. And these are important.
The things that get the accolades.
Exactly. But primary greatness is the goodness of character. And the truth is, secondary greatness without primary greatness is, well, it's ultimately unsustainable.
It's all hollow.
It's hollow. If you lack that deep character, that lack will manifest itself sooner or later in every long-term relationship you have. A difficult client, a team under pressure, your own family. Techniques can't sustain true trust when the underlying character isn't there.
That ties back to that quote we have from Emerson, which is so direct. What you are shouts so loudly in my ears that I cannot hear what you say.
Yes.
If your integrity is shaky, it doesn't matter how polished your presentation is.
It's why the sources warn against the shortcut fallacy. We see this everywhere today in the culture of life hacking, this desire to find the fastest route possible.
Right.
But growth, whether professional or personal, it's a natural system.
The analogy is perfect.
Yeah.
Trying to cram on a farm. You can't just skip the planting in the spring and expect to force a harvest in the fall.
You can't. It requires sequential, patient, day in, day out effort. You have to pay the price. You can't cheat the process of maturity.
And where we think we need to put that effort, the planting, is entirely determined by how we see the world, which I think brings us to the crucial concept of the paradigm shift.
Yes, it does.
I feel like paradigm is one of those words that gets thrown around constantly. What does the source material actually define it as?
In the simplest terms, a paradigm is a mental map. We carry thousands of these maps around, and they are either maps of reality, how things are, or maps of values, how things should be. Here's how we interpret everything. The problem is, we are so steeped in them, we forget they're just interpretations. We assume our map is the territory.
And if your map is wrong, the consequences are disastrous. The source uses that analogy of trying to navigate Chicago with a map of Detroit.
Right.
You can be the most diligent, positive person in the world, but if map is wrong, all your effort is just wasted.
Absolutely. Diligence and technique won't correct a flawed perception. The first requirement for success is the accuracy of the map itself. And this is where that famous psychological demonstration comes in.
The one with the dual image, the young woman and the old woman, it's such a powerful demonstration of how quickly we get conditioned.
It is. Researchers would show half the participants the young woman image for just a few seconds, and the other half the old woman.
Okay.
Then they project the composite image. And almost without fail, people saw the image they were conditioned to see, and they often struggled to see the other, even when they knew it was there.
The insight isn't just about optical illusions, though. It's that two intelligent people can look at the exact same set of facts.
The same black lines and white spaces.
Right, or the same data points in a report, and they can disagree entirely and yet both be right from their own frame of reference.
They're simply interpreting reality through different, deeply conditioned mental maps. And if 10 seconds of conditioning can solidify a view, just imagine what a lifetime of cultural, familial, and professional conditioning does to our perspectives.
So, okay, we've established that our paradigms are the root, not the behavior. But how do you actually make a quantum change? It sounds incredibly difficult to just rewire your brain by deciding to.
It is difficult, but the key is that a genuine paradigm shift provides a spontaneous, massive change. It's not like the slow, grinding effort of changing behavior alone. And the ultimate illustration of this is the subway story.
Oh, this one hits hard. It's so relatable to modern life, that feeling of just immediate escalating annoyance.
Picture this. You're on the subway, trying to relax. A father is sitting there, seemingly oblivious, while his children are running wild, being loud, throwing things, disrupting the entire car.
You're getting irritated.
You're irritated by the disrespect, the father's apparent laziness. Finally, someone, the narrator, gently but firmly tells the father he needs to control his kids.
The classic public intervention moment. We've all been there.
The father looks up as if he's waking from a trance, and he says quietly, "Oh, you're right, I should. We just came from the hospital. Their mother died about an hour ago."
And in that instant, everything flips. Your perception of the situation, the father, the children, it changes entirely. The irritation is just gone.
Replaced by sympathy, compassion.
Yeah.
That is the power of a paradigm shift. The facts, the loud children, didn't change. Only the map changed. And the speaker didn't have to labor over their attitude or behavior. Their feelings and actions just flowed spontaneously from this new, compassionate map.
That is the kind of quantum change we're aiming for. Changing the root, not just hacking at the leaves. And if these paradigm shifts are what change our perception, then the next question has to be, what should the new, accurate map be built upon? And the sources say it must be built on principles.
Principles are objective reality. They are natural laws in the human dimension, just as immovable as the law of gravity. They are the lighthouses, not the ship.
And that leads directly to that powerful story of the battleship. Two ships are maneuvering in a dense fog. One signals to the other, "We are on a collision course. Advise you change your course 20 degrees immediately."
Right. And the reply comes back. Advisable for you to change course 20 degrees.
So the first ship escalates. "I am a captain. Change course." And the second reply is just perfect. "I am a chief petty officer, second class. I'm a lighthouse."
The ship changes course. It has to, because the principle of the objective reality cannot be negotiated with.
It reminds me of the quote from Cecil B. DeMille, "It is impossible for us to break the law. We can only break ourselves against the law. You can argue all you want, but that lighthouse will not move."
And this adherence to principle is the foundation of true effectiveness, which the source defines using Aesop's fable of the goose and the golden egg.
This is the PPC balance. So what do those two letters stand for?
P stands for production. That's the golden egg. This is the desired results, the goal you want to achieve. PC stands for Production capability. That's the goose.
Okay.
This is the asset, the person, the relationship, the equipment, whatever it is that produces the results.
So if we only look at P, we're just maximizing the golden eggs today. We're sacrificing the future for the present.
And if you focus entirely on P, you quickly kill the goose. You sacrifice the capacity for future results. We see this in burnout culture, in management that exploits assets, or in relationships where we constantly demand without nurturing.
It's all about short-term gain.
Exactly. Effectiveness, the true measure of success, is always a balance between achieving results and maintaining the capacity to produce those results, PC.
Let's apply that to a relationship, maybe that parent and child scenario. The clean room, getting the room clean is the production, the P.
Correct. If you constantly nag, threaten, or shame your child to get the room clean, you might achieve P. You get a clean room, but you simultaneously destroy the PC.
You're destroying the relationship.
You destroy the child's self-discipline, their sense of responsibility, and the basic trust in your relationship. You've killed the goose for the immediate egg. And that's why we have to conclude. The way we see the problem is the problem.
And that recognition forces us into the inside-out philosophy, which is really the cornerstone of this entire approach. We have to start with ourselves, our paradigms, our character, our motives, before trying to influence anyone else.
The path of growth naturally follows what the source calls the maturity continuum. Moving from dependence, you take care of me, through independence, I can do this myself, and finally to interdependence, we can achieve this together.
And the first 3 habits are all about achieving that self-mastery, the foundation of independence.
Exactly.
So let's focus on the first major step. Habit 1, be proactive. This whole concept starts with the unique human endowment of self-awareness.
Self-awareness is our ability to think about our own thought process. It's what separates us from every other creature. We can step back and analyze our moods, our feelings, our deeply ingrained scripts.
That ability gives us responsibility.
Yes, the freedom to choose our response to any stimulus or circumstance.
So being proactive isn't just about taking initiative, it's recognizing that space between what happens to you and how you choose to react to it.
Precisely. Reactivity is when we let our emotional state or the external environment control our behavior. Proactivity is when we use our self-awareness and our values to choose our response.
Right?
The sources highlight people who, even in dire circumstances, like Joseph being sold into slavery and unjustly imprisoned, they chose to focus on what they could control. Their integrity, their kindness, their trustworthiness. They chose their internal state, even when they couldn't choose their external circumstances.
The language is key here too, isn't it? Reactive people use phrases like, I can't, or he makes me angry. But proactive people use phrases like, I choose, or I prefer, which reinforces that internal control.
That shift in language reflects the paradigm change. And once we establish that internal control, we can move to habit 2, begin with the end in mind.
This is the principle of first creation and second creation. You mentally create the building blueprint before you physically build the house.
And the ultimate application of this is to visualize your own funeral. It's a powerful, really sobering exercise. Imagine yourself attending your own service. What do you want your spouse, your children, your friends, and your colleagues to say about you?
That exercise immediately strips away all the superficial stuff. Status, accumulation of wealth, all of it. It forces you to define what true success really looks like to you.
It reveals whether your ladder is leaning against the right wall. You might be climbing the ladder of professional success with incredible efficiency, all those golden eggs, only to realize at the very top that the ladder was against the wrong wall entirely.
And that is the distinction between management and leadership that the sources draw out so clearly.
Yes, management is focused on efficiency, sharpening the machetes, organizing the workers. Management is doing things right.
Right.
But leadership is focused on effectiveness, making sure you are in the right jungle in the first place.
The leader is the one who climbs the tallest tree and yells, wrong jungle.
Exactly. And no amount of management success, no matter how sharp those machetes are, can compensate for failure in leadership. It's the definition of being busy but unproductive.
If you don't define the end, you will just manage your way to someone else's destination.
And that's why habit 2 is so focused on rescripting. Many of us operate on old, often ineffective scripts handed down by family or culture or the personality ethic.
So we use our imagination and our conscience to write a new personal constitution. Why is writing it down so vital, and how is this different from just setting yearly goals?
A personal constitution is a statement of what you are and what your ultimate values are, based on correct principles. Unlike goals, which change constantly and are external, this constitution acts as your changeless core.
It's a foundation.
It's a foundation that gives you security and guidance amidst the accelerating pace of modern change.
So it's the filter you run every daily decision through. Does this job, this action, this commitment align with the person I want my eulogy to describe?
Exactly. It's a permanent standard. It's the foundation for self-mastery that allows you to move from being reactive to being proactive, and from being directionless to beginning with the end in mind.
And this sets the stage for making and keeping promises to yourself, achieving those private victories.
Which must always, always precede lasting public victories.
This entire deep dive just reinforces that central idea that lasting effectiveness requires a fundamental paradigm shift. We have to be willing to challenge our deepest assumptions, moving away from the superficial quick fixes of the personality ethic
To the deep, principle-centered foundation of the character ethic.
Yeah.
We have to commit to the inside-out approach, pursuing the primary greatness of character first. The secondary greatness, the recognition and the success in the world, that may or may not follow. But your peace and congruency will be based on principles you can actually rely on.
It sounds like this isn't a one-time change, but a continuous process of learning, committing, and doing.
It is. And the most difficult choice we face is where to focus that effort. Are we willing to work at the foundational level? I want to leave you with this challenging quote from Thoreau, which just perfectly summarizes the choice required for this kind of quantum change.
Okay.
For every 1,000 hacking at the leaves of evil, there is one striking at the root.
The leaves are the behavior, the symptoms.
And the root is the paradigm. Our continuous challenge is to ensure we are always striking at the root, making that commitment to renewal to progress on the upward spiral of growth.